Hello everyone, this is eFlex and welcome back to another A Producer's Approach video. In this video we're going to be looking at Bad Computer song Paradigm featuring Karra. So if you haven't watched my videos in the past, I basically break down these videos into three separate sections. First I have an intro backstory section, second I have a breakdown analysis section, then lastly I have an outro section. So Bad Computer is a more recent artist but not like Oblivion new, I guess you'd say, which Oblivion's like an artist that came out within the last year or two. Bad Computer is an artist that was introduced in around 2017, 2018 with his song New Dawn. And Bad Computer is one of those artists I really do like. Bad Computer makes electro, progressive house music, but in a very different style, a very unique style that I've never heard of before. And he does it so well that it's pretty unique to himself, and a lot of the sound design is just really clean, really unique. And I would say his electro is probably up there with some of the old nostalgic electro. So up there with artists like AU5, Insane Like, Throttle, Pegboard Nerds even, and just some of those artists, some of the more notable artists, Stephen Walking, Resonate, just some of those older time artists. And I don't know, Bad Computer to me is like one of my favorite newer artists. I classify him a little bit before like Fowler and Oblivion, but still kind of within that newer range within the last 4 or 5 years, I guess you would say. But Bad Computer, ever since he was introduced with New Dawn, like his music, like I've always liked it, and his electro style is just so unique and good. Like the sound design is so cool and his mixes are so clean. And Karra is just a really good vocalist. I think the first time I heard her was when No Taker, another artist that came onto Monstercat around the same time as Bad Computer, came on with this song Who I Am, and her vocals really shined in that song. So Karra's vocals are really good as well, but Bad Computer's just style really shines in Paradigm. I know his biggest song I think is Disarray, but Paradigm to me is really catchy, really cool. I like some of his other, electro songs too that are more recent. His Walking on the Moon remix from Infected Mushroom is really good. That's like, wow, that's really good as well. So there are various other Bad Computer songs that I like, and whenever he releases music on Monstercat, I always click on it, and I always know it's good. Kind of like Oblivion, which when I see her release on Monstercat, like I know it's probably going to be a good song. And I don't know, Bad Computer is just one of those artists that I've really liked, come to like. His electro style just reminds me so much of the older school electro style. So anyways, we'll break down Paradigm, and I hope you guys enjoy my breakdown. Let's get into it. All right, so really cool. There's a VFX right in the beginning, and then there's almost like a percussion-ish sound that starts off in the very beginning, and then it kind of transitions into here where you hear the Paradigm kind of vocals from Karra. They're filtered quite a bit and EQ'd quite a bit to where you only hear the high end, and then they're detuned a little bit as well. And then you hear that kind of acoustic, not really acoustic, but like more Foley-ish type percussion playing. It's not the traditional hi-hats. And then after that, it transitions into that kind of nice kind of pluck bass line, which Bad Computer I think is really known for. His electro kind of bass lines are really kind of deep and kind of clean, but they kind of have a nice grit to them, I guess you'd say. They kind of remind me a little bit of like deep house or future house, I guess you'd say. I always get those genres kind of mixed up with each other, but they're where they have kind of the more deeper pluckish sounds. I noticed that Bad Computer has that in a lot of his more electro type songs, and even his house songs or progressive house songs. So anyways, let's keep going. All right, so that is kind of the break and build up section. So it's really cool. You hear the clap in the background for the percussion playing, and then you do hear kind of these kind of more cinematic toms or drums come in like vroom, and then you hear the bass line playing like doon 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 doon, and then you hear the lead sound kind of go like respond like dun 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 dun. So it's like a nice calm response just within this break section, which is cool already. And it's cool how the note variation for the bass line and the lead isn't like whole notes, so there's kind of like a bouncier feeling to it. And then you have the kind of percussion, kind of Foley-ish type percussion playing in the background, and then you have kind of the vocal chops kind of being chopped in the background like da 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 da, like you have that, but there's some filtering on it, and then it almost sounds like there's some like distortion or something on it, or some type of VFX to make it sound like it's kind of being filtered, so it's not a really clean sound, which is really interesting. So anyways, this is kind of a more unique build-up, where there's no really percussion going in. It's just kind of like a VFX kind of like rising up. There's no percussion, just kind of went to this VFX, and then I think the vocal says Paradigm from Karra. So let's keep going.
Paradigm.
Wow, that was the first drop, and for such a short drop, there was a lot going on. I was trying to hear everything that was going on. I'm not even sure if I can point everything out. So there's a traditional 4/4 beat, kick on every beat, and then snare on the 2 and 4 beat. You hear the bass line, and you hear the sub playing, but then the lead sound in that first part is kind of a vocal reverb type chop that's playing the lead sound like in the first part, and then the second part there's like a lead section that answers. So there's like a calm response either between that first kind of vocal chopish lead and the second part, or the bass line, which is pretty interesting. And then there's just various VFX kind of thrown in. So there's like kind of nice, one of the sound effects I like is like the choo-choo-choo, like kind of like a DJ scratch almost like. I like that sound effect that he used there. And then there's different kind of synths used in the background and different little vocal chops thrown in here and there, which is really cool. And I mean, there was a lot going on within that section. Usually when I listen to the song, I only hear the bass line and then the lead sound kind of answering in the second part, but I never really heard that kind of vocal chop in that first part of the drop playing a lead itself. So it has a lot of reverb and delay, so it's not really in the forefront. Like the bass line is really in the forefront, which is really interesting. And that kind of bass line from Bad Computer, really unique bass line to him. Just a unique sound design, super clean. That whole part was super clean, moves super well, and there's just so many different like VFX and different sounds thrown in here and there that even I have like a hard time keeping up with how many sounds he used. So hopefully in the second drop I'll notice a little bit more if it's some of the similar sounds. But anyways, let's keep going. All right, so it's really cool. There's like that kind of sound that fades out, I guess, from the bass line, and then there's kind of an ARP That was playing like dun 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 dun, which is really cool. That's more of a distorted sound. That kind of plays out and then transitions into this vocal section, which is pretty interesting how that's pretty similar to how Space Boy was, except Space Boy, the vocal came in right after the drop, where in this section, it just kind of played a little bit of the synth and then kind of had that bass sound kind of fade out a little bit and kind of glitch and then go into this vocal section. So that's kind of structurally something I never really noticed before. And that's something structurally that's really good to do with vocals. I worked with some vocals, but not a lot. So for me, that's something really good to learn. So anyways, this part, Karra, you hear her vocals sing. And then there's also a lead sound that sounds like a, I don't know, what do you call those things? Like one of those gesture boxes or one of those winding boxes. Sounds kind of like that, playing the lead. So that's pretty cool. It's almost like an ARP in a sense. But anyways, let's keep going.
Tracing the patterns in your eyes, making me wonder every time, how could our love be so divine? When the world shakes, you'll have a hand to hold. When the light fades, you'll have a place to go.
All right, so that section is really cool. Really emphasizes the vocal. And then there is a pluck sound playing the chord progression on the bottom. Trying to determine whether it was plucks or a piano. Sounds a little bit more like a piano in a sense. So that's really cool. But it's kind of like a blend between like a pluck and piano. I'm going to call it a pluck for now, more so actually than a piano, because it sounds a little bit more like a pluck. And then there is some like vocal kind of chops in the background, but they have like a lot of reverb and delay, so you don't hear them that much. And then you hear the snare rolls, which are really cool, thrown in there. Then you hear a couple cymbal crashes, which is really cool. And I just like how the vocal pairs with that kind of ARP-ish type lead sound, which is really cool. And then it transitions into this part. So this part has the lead playing and then the vocal kind of coming in. So it's almost like a call and response in this section. So anyways, let's keep going. Alright, so what I really do like about this song is this middle break section, or the second break section. That's probably my favorite part of the song. You really get the vocal heavy part in the first part, and then you have that like that lead plays along with the chord progression. And then you have Karra's vocals come in and say you have a place to go, kind of like a call and response to that lead section. And it's interesting too how the chord progression itself and the lead sound slowly starts to get louder. It starts lower in volume and then slowly starts to get louder, or the, I would say, filter automation for the actual kind of bass sound is starting to open up more, so there's a little bit more high-end sound that you hear. So it's really cool. And then that kind of fades out into this section where you hear like a lead section and this build-up kind of with a call and response. So this build-up's a little bit different. I think like most of the songs we reviewed, like Bad Computer wanted to emphasize this is going to be the second kind of build-up into the second drop. So it's a little bit more exaggerated this time than it was in the first kind of build-up into the drop. So anyways, let's keep going. All right, so this drop is a little bit different because he kind of didn't have that kind of sound that kind of pitched down, and then the vocal is a little bit different. In the beginning, she said paradigm, and this time she said you have a place to go, and then it'll drop. So I like the variation there. I like how he played like that lead call and response section, this section, and then like the kind of ending of it is the response just playing, and then having the reverb tail kind of play out, and then having like a VFX kind of transition, and then having Karra's vocals come and say we have a place to go. So that's really cool. I like that variation in in the build-ups there into the drops. So anyways, let's listen to the second drop and we'll go from there. All right, so kind of to end that second drop, that second drop's pretty similar in structure and sound design to the first drop. So I was able to notice in the first parts, you hear kind of towards the end of the phrase, you hear I, like sound like that. That kind of, it almost sounds like a reverse or chopped up vocal of Karra saying I, or it's a reverse vocal chop, just kind of leading into that section. After you hear that, dun, 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 and then kind of from the chopped up vocal kind of in the higher end, then you have another kind of chopped up vocal kind of coming back up, which is really cool. It's kind of a nice sound to pair with that kind of vocal choppish type section, and then the lead plays. And I like the wubs that kind of come in at the end of the phrases, very complextro like. And the structure of the song, like towards the end of the song now in the outro, is very similar to old school structuring for complextro of having like a 30-second outro or a 15-second outro. So we'll let that play out and I'll talk a little bit more about the song. All right, so that's Bad Computer Song Paradigm featuring Karra. Back up to the outro a little bit. So the outro did have a kick kind of outro, but it wasn't very long, and it did include some different vocal chops and different sound effects, and they're kind of thrown in there. You hear that kind of lead vocal chopish that you hear actually in the drop a little bit more in this kind of outro section, and then you hear a little bit of the lead sound, synth sound playing. And then you have the ending of male, almost like maybe either Bad Computer or Karra just pitched down a lot saying Paradigm, which is interesting kind of outro. So it's like a lower pitch of a volume sound. So anyways, this is Bad Computer Song Paradigm featuring Karra. Song's really good. The drops themselves are really creative. I like the use of the vocal chops. I like the use of the different uses actually of the vocal chops, so many different ways within a drop, and then the wubs and the sound design that Bad Computer uses is just so good. It's like so clean, like all of his music is so clean. The intro is pretty nice. You kind of get a good vibe straight off. Dun, 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 dun. You kind of hear that lead synth sound, which is really cool. It gets really catchy in your head. And then you hear that kind of bass kind of come in, which gives that bouncy feeling. And then the song just doesn't wait. It just goes straight into the first drop, which is really cool. I think the longest part of the song is actually that second break section, which I like the most in the song, which really shows and just brings to the forefront the vocal from Karra and just how her vocals are, and just kind of takes advantage of how good her vocals are and just puts them in the forefront, which I really like. And then I like that response section right after with that lead section, and then it has a calm response a little bit with the vocal. So the break section probably for me in this song is probably my favorite part. I really do like the drops as well. I like the little wubs, the calm response aspects throughout this whole song. This is kind of like what I would describe as new age complextro or electro, which I really like. Sometimes electro is considered bass house, which I don't really know much about bass house, but to me, I'm not a huge fan of bass house. But a lot of times on Monstercat, they've categorized that as electro, which to me, I don't really like that, and I don't really categorize that as electro. I guess even though electro is the umbrella term for this genre of music, but I like more of the complextro type stuff like this, where it's more melodic, and all the sounds and the wubs all follow like a chord progression more than kind of like detuned sounds kind of playing together. So it's just, and kind of detuned vocals. So it's just not my thing, bass house, too much, but I really do appreciate more melodic like electro. And this reminds me a lot of the old school electro, which I always love listening to in Complextro. So Bad Computer, just one of those really good artists to be paired with Karra in the song. So anyways, hope you guys like this video. Check out Bad Computer's other music. Really good stuff if you like electro and Complextro. Check out some of Karra's music as well. I know she has other songs on Monstercat where her vocals are featured, so definitely listen to those songs. But overall, this song's really good. You can kind of see why any Bad Computer song that I see, I just automatically click and I know it's going to be a good song. Like I just know, like if it's Bad Computer, it's going to be good. Kind of like if I see AU5, I know it's going to be good. So anyways, I hope you guys like this breakdown. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next A Producers Approach video. All right, have a good one, everyone. Peace.